Hey, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, or depending what time you're watching and listening and tuning in to the Kingdom Talks podcast. I'm Javier, as you already know, your host with the most. And I'm here with my buddy Chris, aka Don Johnson. He is back again to bless us with his perspective, with his presence, and all that good stuff. Wearing a fly shirt that I want for you YouTubers out there watching it. He is dripped out right now, looking icy. And I just want to first and foremost, because I know that by the time you guys watch this episode, Christmas is literally going to be days away. So I just want to take the time out to wish every single one of you supporters, followers, and people that just tune in and share their perspectives and behind the scenes. I want to wish you guys a very, very merry Christmas, a blessed Christmas, a safe Christmas. I don't condone drinking like that, but if you are going to drink and have your cocktails, please drink responsibly with your families and loved ones. Before we get started, as usual, I just like to take some time to do what I call housekeeping. I do have a couple prayer requests that I want to share because, as you guys already know, I like to read some of the prayer requests that do come in through our Instagram. And again, our Instagram, if you're new to the show, it's kingdomtalks_pod. That's POD at the end on the Instagram, and you can DM us. Or whenever you see our Insta story requesting you guys to engage on the prayer request, go ahead and engage on the Insta story and we'll try to get your prayer request. But we do have two. I wish that we had more, but it's okay. You guys are shy. I get it. But I'm going to go ahead and read a couple real quick. And again, these are anonymous, obviously. I like to keep that anonymous just for respect of the sender. All right, so we got a prayer request regarding a family member, uncle. He's struggling with addiction, and I feel like we're getting a lot of people different prayer requests, whether it's an uncle or a sister or a close friend that's dealing with addiction. Addiction is such a real thing. I actually saw a documentary on one of my streaming services. I don't remember if it was HBO, Netflix, or Hulu, but I saw a documentary, and it's the name is escaping me now, but it had to do with the heroin epidemic that's kind of running rampant in the northern eastern part of our country, and it's pretty bad. But my heart's to you. I know that that's a struggle that seems to affect everyone. It doesn't matter what walk of life you come from. That illness, that sickness of addiction is not biased at all. It could really literally affect thousands of diverse families, whether you come from a white family, Black, Latino, Asian. It affects a bunch of different families. So our prayers out to you and your uncle with that. And the last prayer request is from a young lady. I want to say young lady out of respect. I don't know really her age, but she said that she recently got a divorce, and she's just asking for prayer for peace over her and her kids, because she says that she has two small children. So yeah, that's also a tough, heavy-hearted prayer request. I personally know people close to me that's gone through that at a very young age, and I've seen the effects of it. I also have family members that's gone through divorces, so that's tough. But our prayers out to you. We're going to keep actively praying over those people, and for those that had sent in prayer requests before, we're still praying over those too, because I have them literally on my notes in on my phone, so I'm always praying over that. Also, if you feel led to donate, we do have a Cashapp. It is at Kingdom Talks, just one word, Kingdom Talks, with an S at the end on the Cashapp. It'll be on the links and the screen down below for you YouTube viewers. As far as anything else, I don't think I have any more announcements, just that we are working on new content for the new year. I know it sounds weird saying the new year. That's literally next month. We're going to be in 2022 next month. But yeah, we got a lot of exciting things coming up with a lot of different topics and familiar faces that you guys been accustomed to. If you are a longtime listener and viewer, you've gotten accustomed to seeing Chris multiple times now, Tyler, Caleb, and a host of others. And I will have Chris come back for future episodes. We're kind of working on different topics, different subtopics, and series that we're going to do with Chris and a host of others. So we're really looking forward to that. So continue to stay tuned. Don't forget to share. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe and share. But other than that, man, how was your weekend, sir?
It was good. It was good.
Yeah.
Saw the new Spider-Man movie.
Bro, I know.
So good.
Nobody, like everybody who calls themselves like a Marvel fan, probably has been talking Spider-Man this whole entire weekend. Because I know I have. I definitely have talked about Spider-Man. So I mean, we could touch on that for a little bit before we get into our main topic. Like, what was your overall synopsis on the new Spider-Man movie?
Oh wow! I want to share things, but not too much to not spoil it for those.
No, this is going to be a spoiler, bro.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put spoiler alert right here.
Alert.
So if you don't want to get,
so you have a warning.
So you have a warning right now. You can tune out right now for this portion of our podcast, and then you can fast forward and listen to the other stuff because we're definitely going to spoil.
So, oh man, it was just so good. Like overall, like. For whatever reason, I thought, well, not for whatever reason, but I didn't think that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire would be in the movie.
Yeah.
Because they weren't in the trailers, and then, like, there was a lot of comments under the trailer saying, nah, they're not going to be in it.
Yeah.
And then there was some rumor saying how they were spotted at the scenes, like, shooting and whatnot. But it was just so epic. The whole movie overall, like, even if the other two Spider-Mans, if they weren't in the movie, I still think the movie was super good.
Yeah.
But them being in it, I feel like it just added to it.
Yeah, I think
so good.
And I had told you, because we actually talked about this prior to the show, how I was like literally thoroughly entertained from like beginning to end, and even during the dialogue sequences where there was no action, I was still engaged. It wasn't nothing for it to even deem boring. I don't think I found it boring. I don't think it was boring. It was very entertaining. It was intriguing. It was mind-blowing because just to see certain characters in the same scene sharing the same screen, and you're just looking as a fan like, wow, this has actually happened. Because maybe 5 years ago this was not even a question. Like it wasn't even like it was just like something that was impossible. Like this would never happen. But lo and behold, fast forward to now, it happened. Like Kevin Feige found a way to make this happen and to please the diehard fans and even the casual fans that don't really dive into the Marvel Cinematic Universe that in that way. I feel like every type of fan was thoroughly entertained just because of the characters that were there, and I mean the action sequences, the buzzwords that were used. Aunt May with the famous "with great power comes great responsibility," and that was kind of like a homage to the Uncle Ben's buzzword that he used in the Tobey Maguire original Spider-Man. So it was just so cool for everything to come full circle, and I loved it. I loved it so much that I saw it twice. I saw it Friday night with my girlfriend and my friends, and it was a cool crowd because they were screaming, yelling for every reveal that happened, for every epic moment that happened. There was like cheers and screams. Like you said earlier, it felt like I was watching a football game. Like someone scored a touchdown. It was so loud. Yesterday's crowd on a Sunday afternoon, I went with my 7-year-old nephew because I promised I was going to get him to to the theaters to watch the movie, and the crowd was a little light. It wasn't as loud. We still got a little bit of cheers and a little bit of claps, but it wasn't nothing like in comparison to Friday night. Being that Friday night is considered like the opening night, even though I think they had a pre
on Thursday
night, and those tickets were sold out in 24 hours. I think it was, or something crazy like that. But I'm sure this movie is gonna break some type of box office record because
already has.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean,
already has.
There's already memes about it. And it hasn't even been a week since it's been out. There's already memes out about it. Instagram's going crazy. I'm sure
TikTok,
Twitter. Oh my gosh, yes. You're more active on TikTok than I am. I'm sure you've seen a lot of TikTok.
It was so... All right, so I don't really care because I already seen the movie.
Right.
But it really does bother me because I saw it on Friday night. I did my best throughout the whole last week to not spend so many hours, which I ended up doing, on TikTok or Instagram.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want spoilers, right? So I watched it cool on Friday, etc. Bam. All right. All day Saturday and all day yesterday, Sunday, it was sickening to me how many spoilers. Like, they was uploading scenes of when Tobey Maguire comes out with Andrew Garfield. And I'm like, yo. Nobody spoiled it for you.
Right.
Like, you watched the movie and you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Why can't you just be considerate and let everybody else?
Yeah, I don't know.
If this was like 6 months in, then if you haven't watched this movie 6 months in, then that's on you.
That's on you. That's a fact.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But come on, bro. Like, it just came out on Friday.
Yeah, exactly. And it's already going crazy on TikTok and Instagram. But I'm glad that I just got tickets for Friday, got it out of the way. I was anticipating this movie since there was rumors of it happening. So it's just been a long wait. I'm glad that the wait is over and we were able to see it. We were able to be entertained. And if you haven't seen it yet and you're watching this right now, go to the theater. Matter of fact, don't go to the theater. Run to the theater, bro. You gotta go
get
watch.
off of social media.
Yeah, get off of social media and go with your family, go with your friends, have a good time. But at any event, my weekend was good. I spent it with my girlfriend's family because her little one's birthday is this Wednesday, but we wanted to kind of have an early celebration. Yeah. So yesterday she had some family over and we had some food, some cake, and it was really, really cool. So my weekend overall was a good weekend. I went to church. I was able to worship and hang out with my church family. And it was just an overall good weekend. Just similar to you, like very, very cool. Yeah. Spent it well spent. I'm done with my Christmas shopping. How about you?
This year was one of those years for me, man, where it's like I'm not buying nothing for nobody.
Really?
Yeah, I was just trying to save up. These past 2 years was pretty rough financially for me, so just trying to recoup. What I am giving to everybody for Christmas this year is a Merry Christmas text to everyone that's in my contact list.
There you go. Hey,
Merry Christmas.
And do you have any new music coming out for those who are new?
Yes.
AKA month. Don Johnson is an artist. So do you have any material?
Next month, it's called Este año hacemos cuarto, which means this year we make money. Dominicans, we have a slang term for money, which stands for cuarto. So song is gonna be epic. Yeah, it's a street anthem. It's for the streets.
Nice.
So it's gonna be.
So is it gonna be nice. Is it not, because you said it's a street anthem? Do you mean like as far as sonically, how's it gonna sound? Is it more trap beat or is it more reggaeton beat?
No, it's in the lines of like trap.
Trap? Yeah. Okay, cool. Looking forward to that. Yeah, awesome. Awesome. So you're gonna be busy. You're gonna be busy 2022.
Yep, absolutely.
Nice. And I will be busy 2022, entertaining you guys with this podcast. So I'm looking forward for that. Because it's Christmas, I wanted to sit down with Chris, and actually we kind of spoke yesterday as to what we were gonna have, what types of conversations we were gonna have, and I figured it'll be so relevant to just talk about Christmas traditions and what traditions we got accustomed to growing up and how those traditions kind of changed as we got older. I guess I can start first with when I was a kid, maybe in that 5 to 9 year old bracket. In that season of my life, the tradition was, because I had such a big family, it was meeting at auntie's house because she had the bigger house, or if at sometimes in certain years, if it wasn't my auntie that had the big house, it was my uncle who had the big house. So whoever had the big house that year, because we moved a lot, we would gather and congregate for the Christmas Eve festivities that we would have. And coming from a Latino culture, it was very normal. It was the norm to gather, and I'm sure you are familiar with it, you being Latino, is that we would gather at Christmas Eve, we'll party it up, but we also feast like it was no other. Like we would literally feast, and my grandma used to throw it down in the kitchen back in the day, my mom, and it was just a collaborative effort to make this like really good spread and to feed us, and not only feed us, but like, you know, gather and just be with one another, because, you know, those are the times that you want to kind of enjoy being with your family, because throughout the course of the year you don't really get to see them as often because you're so caught up in the hustle bustle of working and going to school. You know, my parents made sure that my homework was done and we were going to school and yada yada yada. They were working 2 jobs at a time at some point or another, and it was tough to really catch up with family throughout the course of the year because it was just everybody was hustling and trying to get food on the table. And so these gatherings like Thanksgiving and Christmas especially, it was very wholesome, you know. It was very just, let's get together, let's eat and have the kids, you know, open gifts and play, and then the adults will play. But how the adults played, they would drink and throw on some salsa, play dominoes, play some salsa, some merengue, some bachata, and they'll dance till the cows come home, as they say. So that was just kind of like my tradition early on, and we were lied to very early on. And I know your story's a little different because your mom kept it real with y'all. My family really didn't keep it real with us early on. Like we literally had my uncle, shout out to Uncle Edgar, I love you, Uncle. He would dress up because he was a heavy set guy, and he would dress up like Santa. And we were like 5, 6, 7-year-olds. My little cousins were like 3, 4 because they were younger than me. And for a while, he would dress. It was like the thing every year. He would sneak out because he would know when midnight was going to strike, because at midnight we were allowed to open the gifts because we wouldn't wait till Christmas morning. And so he would sneak out and go in the back and go in his room and, you know, he'll throw on like extra cushion to make because he was a big guy, but he wanted to be like bigger. So he would like stuff his costume and make his belly like the traditional Santa belly, and he would dress up the whole nine, the beard and everything, and he'll come out with literally a laundry bag that happens to be red, so it looked like a legit bag of gifts, and he would have like some gifts in this laundry bag, and he would sit down and we would just be like quiet and just like starstruck, if you will.
You felt like this was actually Santa?
Yeah, and we were just so gullible when we were young, and we were like, oh, Santa's here, we're gonna get gifts. And I think we were just so, I don't know if you were excited to see Santa more so than being excited that we were finally gonna open the gifts. And so I think it was like a combination of both. And we would just sit there and we'll let my uncle, and he would do like this little weird like disguising of his voice. He'll like speak lower toned, and it was just weird, but we didn't care because it was like Santa, you know. So it's like, oh, that's how Santa talks. So it's like we would just sit around sit around we would have a manger too, by the way. We were big on mangers, and so we had like this manger and this whole like what do you call it, we call it in Spanish, it's called where baby Jesus sit, the nativity. But I forget. El pesebre, right?
Pesebre,
so I knew they had a Spanish term. It was escaping me, but thank you for reminding me what they call it. But we had like a little pesebre, right? Like the little nativity. And he would sit right next to it and he would just read out like, oh, this is from Santa to my cousin Richie at the time, to Richie and to Javi and to Ronald and Angie and Nikki, all my cousins. And we would eat it like candy. We'll just gobble it up. Like we'll believe that that's Santa and bye Santa. And he would leave, and then he would go in the backyard, sneak out to the back, go in his room, change again, and Uncle, where were you? Oh, Papi, I was on the phone. I had to take this phone call. Oh, okay, well, you missed Santa. And it would happen every year religiously. And after a while, after I was, 11, 12, and then I'm in my teens, I'm a little teeny bopper, 12, 13, I'm like, all right, bro, what's going on? And then they would break it down like, yo, it's Uncle that's dressing up. It's really, there's no such thing as Santa. And then they'll just break it down, and they'll, then we'll start understanding more the concept of what Christmas really is about. And because we are believers, we say it's to recognize Jesus' birth, his life, and everything else. So that's pretty much the gist of it. Like traditional wise, that's how it was in my household. I think it was a little different with you because your mom kept it real.
Yeah.
Your mom kept it real.
From a very young age, it's like how I said earlier. I feel like God gave a very unique wisdom to my mom on how to specifically raise us and how to bring us up. Because like she always kept it real. Like from the jump, she let us know there's no such thing as Santa. Like whatever you want, write it down, let me and your stepdad know, and for Christmas, we'll do our best to get it for you. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't in a way where it's like soul crushing or dream crushing or not letting us be kids. But it was, I don't know, it's just kind of hard to explain. But growing up, so everybody who knows me, a lot of times since they don't know the story, they ask me, do I have family in Puerto Rico? Did I have family? I never had family in Puerto Rico. My family in Puerto Rico was our household. That's it. Like it was just me,
right?
My older brother Anthony, my mom, my stepdad, my little brother Sammy when he was born, and then Anna. But that was it.
Right.
Like all of our family from my mom's side, from my dad's side, USA. So I guess that kind of made Christmas for us feel even more closed circle. Like it just felt so comforting.
Right.
Because it's like
it was more wholesome and tight knit. Yeah, it was tight knit. Right.
It was tight knit. Like we were all that we had. And
yeah.
I guess that this is a popular Latino thing because we didn't wait till Christmas morning.
Yeah, I know.
Our thing was like they originally wanted us to wait till 12 at midnight, but they was like, okay, 11 p.m. So we will always wait every year faithfully.
Yeah.
And they used to always put the names like under the tree, but as we got older, they just stopped putting names.
Yeah.
Because when I would see my name like on 2 or 3 different gifts, I will grab it, I'll shake it, I'll feel it.
Yeah.
And there was like let's just have them guess. So there was a point where they don't just no names.
Really?
Yeah, and I never forget one Christmas that really stood out the most was me and my older brother Anthony. We had a Game Boy Advance SP. During that time.
Those were legit.
Those were the real deals. And
I think they were better than the Game Gear.
I believe so.
Yeah, they were better. Because remember Sega Genesis had that Game Gear or whatever it was? But that Game Boy was legit.
With Game Boy Advance SP, Nintendo outdid themselves.
Absolutely.
And I remember during that year, like months before Christmas, I don't remember when, but I'm going to say like maybe summer, September. For whatever reason, we got grounded and they took away our Game Boys. Mm-hmm. In our minds, they threw it away. That's it. And
you're
that
never
was
getting
like
them back.
We were kids. Growing up for me and my brother, I guess that's why we still like video games to nowadays. Video games was like our escape growing up because they didn't let us go out anywhere. Like literally, they didn't let us go out anywhere, not even to chill with the neighbor that's right in front of the house. So that was everything for us.
Yeah.
So that Christmas, they packaged our Game Boys.
Really?
With obviously socks, boxers, clothes,
right,
etc. I think they also bought us some Fila sneakers that we really wanted.
Yeah.
But the highlight of that Christmas for us was we got our Game Boy Advance SP back.
Nice.
And I remember till this day how happy, how joyful we were. Like, it was like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe it.
It's crazy when something gets taken away as a kid or a teenager, you feel like it's the end of the world.
The end of the world.
And you're never going to get it back.
Yeah.
Whether it be, I remember one time my parents took away, because I was, just learning how to drive. And I got this beater of a car. I think it was a 1987 Pontiac Sunbird. I don't think you even make them anymore after a certain year. And I got in so much trouble that my dad took away the keys and he was like, "You're not driving." And he grounded me, and I thought it was like over. Like, oh, I'm not gonna, like, this is it. My life is over. And I thought I would never drive again. Like, it's like earth shattering when you have that authority figure, like, take something away from you. And it's like so earth shattering. It's like you get into this crisis mode. Like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna get my Game Boy back. Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna drive again. Right?
It hurts way more
because it messes with your mind.
Yeah.
Because you're grounded, and so you have to go to your room, and you're in your room, and you're looking in the ceiling, and you're just contemplating, like,
you're just in your thoughts.
It's like you're in your thoughts, like, yo, am I gonna get my Game Boy back? Or are they going to give it away? Or are they going to throw it away? Like, and then me, I'm like, my dad's going to sell my car. Like, that's how bad it was. Like, when they take things away, it's like you kind of, I feel like when you take something away from a kid that they cherish and they love and they adore, somehow us as kids, we find like a new way of looking at things and appreciating things more.
Absolutely.
Like, and especially, I'm sure when you got your Game Boys back for Christmas, it was so memorable to you because till this day you're talking about it, and I'm sure that you had a new appreciation.
Absolutely.
Of, okay, now I need to do certain things right so I don't get my Game Boy taken away.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So your mom's a G for that.
Yeah.
Shouts out to your
mom. Growing up, also, overall, my mom and stepdad always made good food. Overall, like, it wasn't like for like a special occasion. Like, it wasn't like, I'm gonna make your favorite dish because it's your birthday or it's Thanksgiving or it's Christmas. Like, they just always did.
Yeah.
But for Christmas, I don't know if you ever had this. My mom and stepdad, either both of them or one or the other, would make a pastelón de plátano. Know what that is?
Oh, yeah.
So for those of you who don't know what pastelón de plátano is, it's like if it was lasagna.
Yeah.
But it's layers of cheese
and
sweet plantain.
Yeah.
And ground beef.
Yeah.
Carne molida,
yeah.
Or if you wanted shredded chicken.
Yeah.
It was
But I feel like
so good.
When it's made with the ground beef,
it's better.
It hits different, bro.
It hits so different. So they will make that, and you gotta have the white rice.
Yeah.
So with the white rice and beans and a nice little piece of aguacate.
Yeah.
Of avocado, and that was like the Christmas dish, right?
Yeah.
And it was just Christmas growing up for us. Yeah. Like, it was just my stepdad and my mom. If there's one good thing that I could take away from my childhood, that would be one of them. Like, they always outdid themselves
for Christmas. Yeah.
They always created the hype.
Yeah.
They always, like, it was this experience where every Christmas Eve, we were looking forward. And to me, growing up, I think how we're raised has to do with a lot of how we view life and how we view things. When I think of Christmas, I don't think about Christ at all.
Right.
That's far from my mind.
Yeah.
Because when I think of Christmas, I think it has to do directly with how I was raised and how a lot of us in America are raised, where it's about Santa, it's about this beautiful Christmas tree, it's about gifts, it's about that. So personally, me, when I think about Christmas, that's the first thing that pops to mind. Like, I don't see the connect, although I know, but I don't see the connect of Christ and how we celebrate Christmas in this American culture. Matter of fact, for those who don't know, there's Bible scholars that when we study when Christ was actually born, it wasn't in December. It was actually around April. Right. According to Bible scholars. I thought I shared that. But so for me, growing up, Christmas was awesome experience. But as an adult, when I think of Christmas, that's what I think of. Trees, holiday movies, which, by the way, I am so sick. Christmas movies and Christmas songs. Especially this season, the Netflix, the whole roll is. I'm like, they're so cheesy.
For everybody, I'm sure 99.9% of the population, the American population, has a Netflix login and password, and if it's not yours, it's probably your uncle's. or your friends,
your ex-girlfriend,
or your exactly. And for whatever reason, she hasn't changed the password, so you continue using it. I know y'all probably on that wave, but like you said, we didn't have obviously growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, we didn't have the Netflix. It was always Blockbuster. And so the trips to Blockbuster were epic, bro. They were so much fun because so I would come over and we would have sleepovers at my cousin's house in New York, right? And I would ask my parents, hey, can I sleep over at my cousin's house? Yada, yada, yada. And around the Christmas time, we would love to have sleepovers because it would consist of binge watching these movies that my cousin already owns, or because my uncle had I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember, but remember the Blockbuster membership cards?
Of course.
It was it was laminated and everything. So we would he would have the Blockbuster membership, and literally he lived maybe a 10-minute ride to the Blockbuster. So we would go to Blockbuster, and it would be its own experience, because it's we're gonna go to Blockbuster, we're gonna get the popcorn and the candy and it was
the latest movie that came
out. It was just an actual experience. It was an experience, and I miss those days because these kids nowadays, they just go on their PS5s and go on their streaming services and go on Netflix, and that's the end of it. But with us, we would go to Blockbuster, and remember, if you would go to the Blockbuster and you always ran to the new releases. So we would always run to new releases, and for whatever reason during Christmas, in this particular Blockbuster in New York, the new release section literally turned into Christmas. So you would have these epic Christmas movies that you can rent, I'm sure you guys are familiar with The Christmas Story. Yeah. That's a pretty cool movie. Home Alone 1, Home Alone 2. Classics, right? So we would go and rent these movies, and then buy our candy and our popcorn there, obviously, because it's a one-stop shop to get all your movie, things. And we would go and watch a bunch of movies till the crack of dawn. And just stuffing ourselves with popcorn and candy on a Christmas weekend, and we would make a weekend out of it, and it was so much fun, man. And those are the memorable moments. It's not really about to me, as I started getting older. I mean, when you were a kid, you were just excited to see presents, right? Mm-hmm. And you always were oh my God, I can't wait to rip these things apart so I can know what my parents got me or what Santa got me. But as I was getting older, I started just kind of appreciating, just because it's in me, it's instilled in me. That's just how I'm wired. That I like just socializing. I'm a social butterfly, so I just love to be around my family, be around my cousins, play video games, and watch movies and binge watch a whole bunch of different movies, because that's just it just felt good, and it was fun for me, and it was fun for them. So we just made it an event kind of thing outside from just celebrating Christmas and being around family. And my family were very partiers. They loved to throw on. They would even get like a DJ and pay a DJ $100. He's like, hey, can you just play music for our family gatherings? And in some Christmases, we would have like these DJ equipment and we would just play music till 2-3 in the morning until my parents were just like, okay, I think it's time to go home, because we would be laid out on the couch in the back, like sleeping and bothering my mom, like, Mom, when are we going home? When is it time to go home? And they're like, one more song. Because they were just like what they call rumberos. They like the rumba, you know? So that was just always like just kind of in my brain. Like I will never not forget that for me. And so it was just fun. Like Christmas, it was always a family-oriented thing. And we really didn't have much like family, friends, or outsiders until we started getting older. And we were kind of like, as I was getting older, I would ask my parents, hey, you know, my buddy, he doesn't really have much family. Can he spend Christmas with us? And so we had opportunity to serve on others who were less fortunate, that really didn't have a family, that really didn't have anyone to really spend Christmas with. So there was times where, you know, I had certain friends that would spend Christmas with us. And that for me, as I was getting older and understanding things more and how life actually was, like I actually appreciated it more to serve on others who were less fortunate, I guess you could say, because we tend to get caught up in this consumeristic, commercialized way of celebrating Christmas in America, that we forget that there's people who are less fortunate,
absolutely,
that don't have a family really, that really don't have like a go-to place to gather and be with friends and family, and they're just alone. And feeling alone, I felt alone before, and not for Christmas, but just in general, feeling alone, feeling that you're not wanted or accepted or valued or even validated. It's a crappy feeling, bro. Like it really is a crappy feeling. And then just to see someone's face light up because they're spending it with people who actually want them there, and like, hey, I hear that you're Javi's friend. How's it going? My family's so like welcoming and hospitable that they make you feel accepted. They make you feel welcome. So, and plus my mom and my aunties, they love feeding people. So they're like, hey, what you like? What do you want? What you want? What do you like? You like chicken? You like rice? You like beans? What you want? Plátano? And so that to me was more rewarding than it was receiving any gift when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
For me anyway.
That's awesome, man. I know it's a bit of a sad story, but I think it was in 2000. I always forget what Christmas year it was. If it was 2016 or 17, I just forget. But I remember at the time, I had already moved out from my uncle's house, because my first year here in West Palm Beach, I lived with my uncle. So it was like I already moved out, so I was renting a room inside church people's house. And they had their family. They were from Colorado, so they went to Colorado. At the time, my brother and sister-in-law lived in West Palm Beach. Like, it's kind of like that Christmas is like a blur to me. Like, I really don't remember where my brother was, who he spent it with. I want to say he went to Massachusetts and spent it with my mom. Point is, I kind of have I got a little taste of what it is of spending Christmas alone, because I spend it completely by myself. Like, really? I never forget this Christmas.
Yeah.
I didn't have, it's just a blur. I wish I remembered why I spent it by myself, but I remember, everybody was doing them. And what I did for that Christmas was I drove to McDonald's, the drive-thru. I got a Big Mac. I got some nuggets. I came home. That's what I ate in this big old house all by myself and just watched Netflix. and it was like it wasn't a good feeling.
And this was in 2016.
I want to say 2016.
So it was pretty recent.
Yeah. And it was like I
obviously before you got married and everything. Yeah.
I sympathize with those people that consistently spend Christmas
by themselves,
year after year, back to back, just by themselves, no family, for whatever, or for whatever the reason is.
Yeah.
It's not, especially if you live in this big old house and you're by yourself.
Yeah, it just feels more alone.
There's not a home cooked meal. You know, I just went to McDonald's and got a Big Mac, and I was like, this sucks, but oh well.
Yeah. Wow. And it's crazy because it's crazy because that's what sometimes life does to people. Sometimes it just kind of grabs you, and if you're not in the right place in life, you know, life is. I always look at life as this huge mass of oceanic water, and in the open sea there's waves, right? And in the waves of life, sometimes if you're not strong and you don't have your sails out to where they're supposed to be, you don't have that foundation, you can just be taken where the waves takes you. And where the waves usually take you is in a very dark, solitary place, and it isolates you. And sometimes it's not by design, you know, because I would have conversations with people, especially around the holidays, like they would come forward and say, yo, I kind of spend the last couple of years I've been spending the holidays by myself. And it was interesting for this one individual that told me that I asked him, like, why? Because, you know, naturally you would want to ask someone, hey, like, why did you? Because that's not the norm for me, you know, that spending Thanksgiving or Christmas by myself, that's just not the norm. But I was inclined to ask, and he was like, honestly, it wasn't even by design. And I was like shocked. And then it kind of just like resonated. And I'm just like thinking like, wow, it's crazy how sometimes, like I said, the waves just kind of take you. And if you allow those waves to take you, it'll take you to your own island and you're by yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's very confined to yourself, and you just find yourself alone. And finding yourself alone, especially around the Christmas and Thanksgiving holidays, it's difficult. And so I definitely sympathize for those who've spent Christmas by themselves. And I don't know if it's by design or not. Whoever is listening that are spending Christmas by yourselves, I just want to let you know that, you know, I love you and you're loved and Jesus loves you, and you have no business spending Christmas by yourself. So I encourage you to just kind of get yourself out there. I know that COVID's been rough on some people the last year and a half to 2 years now. And we've been living in such an isolated social distancing, dynamic now. Everybody's kind of like distanced now, and they're finding reasons to distance themselves. And it's becoming like a culture now, and I don't like it at all. But I know that people need to stay safe, and I know that people dive into the whole variant thing, like, oh, there's COVID, and then there's the variant, and then there's this, and we still have to, be mindful of those who are, have underlying conditions. And I understand all that. But man, we still, at the end of the day, we still have to live our lives. And at the end of the day, we are human beings, and we are wired to do life with others and to be social, human beings. And so I just encourage people to step out of their comfort zone a little bit. And if you don't know how to even do that, just start with yourself. Like, what is it that you want to work on? Maybe you want to start a gym membership, and you never know. Maybe once you start that gym membership and you start consistently going, you might meet somebody, and that somebody may turn into a gym partner, and that gym partner may turn into a friend, and then you start getting involved with a group of people that share the same interests that you share. I don't know, but I always feel that that's a mental health based thing, and I do believe that mental health is a real thing. And so isolation is definitely not a remedy to better yourself, I feel like. And even within the church, like any pastor would tell you, hey, it's important to do community with others. And then they'll go back to that famous verse, iron sharpens iron, right? That you need to have community. You need to have some type of fellowship to be a better version of yourself, because Absolutely. You need to be around young lions to get you to where, you're destined to be or where you're called to be. And if you're not, you're just going to turn into a couch potato, and then you're going to find yourself alone during the holidays, during the Thanksgiving and Christmas season. So I just encourage people to just step outside of their comfort zones, be a little bit social. I know that people will say, "Hey, Javi, but you don't know me. I'm more of an introvert. I really like to keep to myself. I only have like a few people that I call friends." Okay, well, if you do have two or one friend, be intentional with that one friend. That's what relationships are all about, right? Speaking of relationships, you like how I segued through that, right? I'm getting this podcasting on point. So speaking of relationships and how we conduct ourselves as such, but I identify myself as a Christian, and so having relationships and godly relationships and just intentional relationships that pleases the Lord, right? Is something that we are always called to do. And I think that's kind of what God's will is for you, as well as a list of other things, but mainly just for the sake of the topic. Relationships are important because it kind of feeds your soul, it feeds your spirit, right?
Absolutely.
Because if not, then you kind of just turn into this hermit, and you're not gonna function properly. When you do go and socialize, you're going to feel like an awkward social being. And you don't want to get to that place, because then it's going to be difficult for you to even navigate through conversations or even make a friend. So I always, because I'm such a huge extrovert, are you an extrovert or introvert, or you have a little bit of both?
I'm both.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. Why do you say that you're both? I'm just curious.
I am an introvert in the sense, like, I don't go to a random person that I don't know and just introduce myself.
Oh,
I typically don't.
I used to do that all the time.
Like when I went to the church that I was previously going to Reveal Fellowship, I started doing that as a way of putting myself out there, because I didn't want to go through the same thing that I had gone through and at every single church I've been through in my life. Like, I can't sit here and boo-hoo and complain that I didn't make no relationships or I didn't get to meet nobody if I don't put myself out there, right? But that was specifically then. Would I do that now? It all depends on how I feel, but to get to it, overall, no. I just don't walk up to somebody random now. If for whatever reason that person approaches me, or let's say like Friday, right? As I was on the line to get my popcorn and my hot dog and whatnot, there was this kid in front of me, and he asked me, "Hey, at what time does the movie start?" Because like mine was at 7:10, and it's already 7:20, and I don't know if there's commercials or etc. And I told them the one I bought tickets for is a 7:25, but based on all the commercials, normally there's basically half hour to 40 minutes of commercials most of the time. Yeah. So, and he told me that, I told him that, and then he told me about the movie, and then I kept going. Like, I'm an introvert in that sense, but if you start a conversation with me, I'm not the guy that's just gonna answer questions like, "How are you doing?" "Good." So what are you doing later? I have no idea. Like, I'm not that weird, awkward guy. Like, if you start the conversation or somehow
you'll engage.
End up talking,
you'll engage.
I'm an engaging person. I'm just not like, "Oh, I saw this random dude. Yo, what's going on?" Yeah. Again, it all depends. I can do it, and sometimes I will, but that's just not my norm.
Right. And so, how do you build relationships in that sense?
Man, it's like
how do you remember like ever making your friends in school? How you made friends like even after school when you were a young adult in the workforce? That's
when I'm a lot of the friends a lot of the ways of how I met somebody, every single person that knows me always tells me or somehow shows me that one thing that always lured them in was my personality. Like I'm a straightforward person. I'm a very I like to have intellectual and smart conversations. You know what I mean? Like I don't like to talk out of my behind.
Yeah.
I'm just a goofy guy. Yeah. I'm just a funny dude. I'm just chill. Like how the world will say it's the vibe I have. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's what I'm told. That's what I see in myself as well. Yeah. Not to sound conceited but that's what I see and that's what I've been told. So that's like been one of the main things of why people are interested, like the way I articulate my words, the way I speak, the way I think, my humor, my jokes, or just stuff like that. Yeah. But there have been instances where I go out of my way and I just say what's up and I just say hi to everybody and if we click, we click. If not, then
same with me. I mean, I think that sometimes life kind of teaches you lessons when it comes to building relationships and making friends and things of that nature. Why I say that is because sometimes you make the wrong friends and then certain life instances happen and then that so-called friend is really not your friend because of how that friend or so-called friend reacted to the circumstances that life kind of dealt you. Yeah. And so I had to learn the hard way that not everyone that knows my name and knows who I am is my friend.
It's a friend. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So when I started kind of being more intentional with going to church and practicing my belief in the Lord and doing those things, I started realizing that I can build friendships that matter with the people that really do want me to thrive in life and not just always be about a good time. That they're here not just for the good times, but they're here to do life with you. And I kind of had to learn the hard way because I was in some toxic relationships.
Same here.
Like I was in, and I'm not talking about toxic relationships in the sense of being with the wrong girl in that sense of a relationship, which I was, but also toxic relationships with your fellow so-called homeboy. You know what I'm saying? And like, dang, like if I knew what I know now, then I probably would have avoided a couple of those so-called homeboys. But under that same breath, I'm actually like thankful that even happened, because then I wouldn't have been able to sort that out and figure that out for my own self too. Because sometimes you just need to get kicked in the butt by life when it comes to relationships, whether it's a relationship with another guy that you so-called think he's your bro, and y'all going to the gym together, and that's your bro, and you doing this together, you're partying together, and that's this, that, and the third. But then when life really gets tough, is that bro going to be there? And that's when I kind of started finding out who was really my bro and who wasn't, kind of thing. And as far as females, I mean, growing up, I just thought that being in a relationship was a cool thing. Like, oh, I got a girlfriend. When you're in middle school or in high school, it's like, yeah, I got a girl, yada, yada, yada. But you didn't really know how to really navigate through that. And so you would make a lot of dumb mistakes, and you would involve yourself with the wrong person who really wasn't meshed up with your sense of humor, your characteristics, your ideologies, your system beliefs, whatever, right? And that caused tension, and you would find yourself like arguing and having conflict, and then you would blame it on yourself, and sometimes you would blame it on them, or vice versa. And you would go through the gauntlet of like breakups and going through those seasons of like, am I going to be involved with a girlfriend now, or should I? And then you start having doubts because of bad experiences, and then that kind of stays with you as from a teenager to a young adult and then into your early 20s. It kind of just stayed with me, and I would have like this sour taste in my mouth when it came to having a ideal relationship with the opposite sex. Like I would always be hesitant, like, oh, is this person gonna be the right one? It feels right, maybe she's the one, and then you'll trip up. And it was just hard for me to navigate things when it came to that. But in those seasons, I always was able to kind of pivot. And I don't know if it was God. I didn't know then, but I know now that it was God trying to kind of get my attention. And it's funny how God sometimes does things or allows things to happen in your life to kind of get your attention, because at the end of the day, I think God wants you to fixate your eyes on Him, no matter if you're thriving, if you're in the peak, if you're in the valley of life. It doesn't matter. He wants to be with you. He wants you to kind of recognize Him in all seasons of your life, because a relationship with the Lord is a 24/7 thing. It's not when life is good that you're having conversations with the Lord and thanking Him for all the blessings that you're reaping. It's through the bad. And so when I was focusing more on self-care and focusing more on my ultimate relationship, and the ultimate relationship is basically not with your parents, not with your pastor, not with your mentor, but the ultimate relationship should always be God. So when I started focusing more on that, my sphere was thriving, and I was able to be in a community where my opinions matter, my voice was heard, I was accepted, I was valued, and I was cheered and celebrated when the time was right. So in comparison to what I dealt with, I guess you can call it pre-Christ to after I received Christ as my Lord and Savior, my relationships look different. Super different. I mean, we're talking night and day. Like I would do, before Christ, I would be involved with like the crowds that were just out there doing the most and things of that nature, versus where I started transitioning to being more mindful of who I allowed in my life. Because I think who you allow in your life will dictate where you're going to be in a couple of years.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like I think that's goes with it, everyone across the board.
Yeah. Regarding to relationship with me, I learned that many of the homies back then, and some people were just there for a good time, not for a long time.
Right.
You know what I mean? And man, how I handled relationships, how I addressed things, and who I was before Christ and now is also like a super night and day thing. One thing that God has been showing me and revealing to me and kind of like helping me navigate a lot is the word empathy and compassion. Because I grew up in the culture and in the church that I grew up, it was very dismissive, you have to have an answer to everything because we have the Bible, so we're supposed to have all the answers to life endless questions, and very dismissive. Like I heard so many times growing up, el cristiano no puede estar en depresión, which basically means like those who are in Christ can't be depressed, they can't be sad, they can't fall into sin, they can't. So it's like basically
as if we were like programmed
robots. As if we're like, so now that we're in Christ, we somehow magically stop being human beings.
Right, like we're some robots.
And there was a lot of this stuff instilled in me that till this day I see a lot of it, and I'm like, the Lord is teaching me and showing me. One person, two podcasters that I listen to a lot regarding the Bible. My go-to guy is Pastor John Piper. God bless him. And regarding to like relationships, life itself, I guess if you could say philosophy and just relationship itself is this Indian dude. I forgot his name. He's so good. Let me see if I pull it up. You guys need to check this guy out. He's actually the number one health podcaster. Like his podcast is the number one mental health podcast in the world. It's called On Purpose with Jay Shetty. He's so good. He actually was a monk.
Really?
And the advice and the stuff. Personally, me, since I am a believer in Christ, there's a lot of stuff he says
that resonate.
That he believes that I'm like, even if he's not confessing Christ, this is where his group of people get this
ideology.
What's the word? The teaching or the concept or the idea from it.
Yes.
But it's super. So between those two guys and just spending time in God's word and just being around people, like God is just, that's the word he has me on. Compassion, word, but also showing me like compassion. Because sometimes, like when I lose my temper, like I'm tired of repeating to somebody the same thing. Like, how are you not seeing this, bro? Like, wake up.
Yeah.
And then I think about myself, and it's like each time I see myself, like when I lose my temper or just snap or maybe come out a way I shouldn't have, it's because I'm forgetting my gaze is not on Christ. How many times has he not forgiven me for something?
Right.
How many times has he not been compassionate when he could have just rebuked me and be like, what is wrong with you? Just overcome this already.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So that's
and what comes to mind, what comes to mind, it's funny that you said that because I struggle with that too, where I'm not patient with people.
Yeah.
And like when you don't express patience with other people, especially when you're navigating through conversation or just a certain life experience with people, and you don't show that compassion that you said or even that patience, it's like, man, who am I to not have patience with someone who's trying, right? Because I'm one who's trying, and God has endless patience with me because I always mess up, and I've messed up in the past, like when I was in high school and in college. Like I will look back and reflect, and I'm like, man, God's been so patient with me, and he's given me so many opportunities, and he's given me grace after grace after grace, and like his grace for me is so endless, and it's like boundless, right? And so is his mercy. It's so infinite. He has like infinite mercy for me and boundless grace for me. So how should I act around those who I call my friends or my brothers and sisters in Christ, or however you want to determine who you call who in your circle of people that you associate yourself with, even like a coworker? Like how do you treat your coworkers at work? Are you Christ-like? Do you reflect Jesus when you're having these conversations at work? Can people spot you out of the crowd and say, he's different? He's not like everyone else. He's different, because I want to be different. And I want to be the light in the dark. But how am I going to be the light in the dark if I'm acting like a worldly person?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the challenge that I put on myself, and that's a challenge that I put on those who are listening. Like, how are you being the light?
Absolutely. This relationship thing, man. Once we actually talk about it, we're gonna dive in to so many things. One thing I want to share about it quickly is that growing up, I was the kind of dude that, because I felt like I didn't receive the love, attention, and care in my household that I needed, I was these kind of dudes, like, I'm just going to say it straight up, I was a simp. You know what a simp is?
Yes.
I was a big simp. I would beg girls to be with me. I would be like, I always had to have it, like, I always needed to be with somebody. I needed a girlfriend always. It wasn't until I was like 23, which was just 4 years ago, because I'm 27 now, when I discovered what it is to be by myself and have a season of literally not being
with anybody,
with any female in any romantic way, and just learning that. But growing up for me, I had to be with somebody, and I was a huge simp. Like I I didn't like, bro, you don't need to beg nobody for nothing.
Isn't it crazy how sometimes having a season by yourself to just being with yourself,
it helps so much.
It helps so much if you're intentional with self-care. Because if
you discover so many things that you were completely oblivious to.
Yo, that's a fact. That is such a fact.
Like, yo, like I really act this way. Mm-hmm. Like I really snap this way. I'm really careless when I have certain conversations. Like there's just so many things you start to see things within yourself. Like, why am I getting so mad at this small thing? Like, it's if you participate and you cooperate is the word with that process.
It'll reveal a lot of things.
It'll reveal so many things to you.
And you grow.
And you definitely grow.
You grow in so many different ways. Like obviously you gain wisdom. I think that wisdom is very important, and it's a key to having a successful social life, and just being a moving part, but also like a productive part in your community. And just sharing life with others kind of puts you in a place where you're going to thrive, and you're going to find, because sometimes you can't find certain talents when you're by yourself. Sometimes you got to be around people to identify those talents that you have in you so you can pull those out. And you can only do that when you are in a group of inspiring people, like-minded people who are in that same wave. Like they protect their energies. They're constantly encouraging you to get into the Word, do a devotional, whatever it is, a Bible study, listening to a podcast, because you listen to podcasts. I'm a podcaster, but as much as a podcaster that I like to call myself, I also listen to other people's podcasts because it's so great to have different conversations and listening into different conversations to get different perspectives, because that also kind of gets your gears up in here moving.
And that also contributes to your personal growth as well.
That's a whole fact, because I'm sure you listen through the years that you've listened to John Piper, bro. Like, come on, if you haven't, if you're gonna listen to John Piper, you got to have some takeaways.
Absolutely.
And not only some takeaways, but those takeaways are applicable, or should be applicable to your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure you've had moments where, wow, that really resonated in my heart. How do I apply this in my life? And slowly but surely, you start developing these new ideas, these new things about yourself. You start like you said, you start discovering new things about yourself because of you happening to read a certain scripture or happen to listen to a John Piper conversation, whatever the case may be. All those things that I just described, those are intentionalities that you should have upon yourself.
Absolutely.
Because I think that essentially is what self-care is. Because I know that self-care in the social media world is thrown around and it's used out of context sometimes, but self-care really is truly the embodiment of you being intentional with yourself. How am I going to get better? Do I need to see a therapist? Do I need to go to the gym so I can lose weight and feel better, and so I can breathe better, so I can move with more agility, so I can possibly be healthier, because my doctor said that I'm going to be a borderline diabetic if I don't change my lifestyle as far as what I eat. All these things you start discovering yourself, but you're not going to discover those things unless you're intentional with yourself.
Yep.
And I think when it comes to intentionality and you start being intentional with others, you're going to have a better relationship with that person. I remember Pastor Sean a while back would say that the reason why his marriage is so in such a great place is because his intentionality with his wife. He's intentional with taking his wife out on date nights. They still have date nights. You have to be intentional with your wife. So he takes out his wife on a date. He makes her feel validated and accepted. He goes above and beyond for his wife. He wants to make sure that she's okay, that she is spiritually sound, and that she is emotionally great and in a good place. Like, all those things that he does for his wife, those are all with intentions. The intentionality does go a long way, because it kind of
that's just not gonna happen.
Yeah,
like, you have to be intentional.
You gotta, exactly, and you're married, so I'm sure it's challenging. Absolutely. You know, the marriage life is challenging. It's not an easy walk in the park, because you're literally sharing your life with another person that had a different come up in life and was brought up different, possibly. There might be a slight different cultural things that you guys had to kind of mesh and sort out.
Sorry, ladies.
but like, you kind of said it, you kind of nailed it right in the head. Like, it doesn't just happen. Like, you have to be intentional with your spouse, because then it's not going to go anywhere, and then you're going to stay stagnant, and then it just becomes meaningless, and it just becomes toxic. Because when water gets stagnant and it's not moving, it develops fungi and sewage and stuff like that, and you don't want your relationships, especially your marriage, to get sewage.
Absolutely.
You have to have the water running.
It's a consistent daily thing, and for everybody it looks different. Like, you don't have to buy your spouse something expensive or whatever. Like, always, it could just be as simple as, I don't know what, I came out of work and I know you like a nice cold Coke, so I just bought you this Coke. Enjoy it. I mean, just gotta be intentional.
You gotta be intentional, and for me, it's not really, because again, I'm such a romantic, and I love to love, and I love to love on people, and so for me, it is challenging. But sometimes when I know that it's coming from a genuine place in my heart, and there's no ulterior motives, I'm not doing it to get high fives and kudos and try to get a hashtag on someone's post that Javi did this for me, right? I'm not doing it for that. But with like, I currently have a girlfriend, right? And dude, I'll be driving and it'll just dawn on me, and I'm like, you know what, on the way, because I'll give you an example. So I was at the gym and I had a really, really hard workout, and I was just going in at the gym, right? And I was, prior to getting into the gym, I was texting back and forth with my girl, and she was having a rough go around, and had a rough day, and she expressed the fact that she was thinking of me, and that she missed me, and she couldn't wait to see me, and all these things. And I had told her that, hey, I'm on my way to the gym, I'll hit you up afterwards and we could talk about it. And when I was getting out of the gym, I looked at my phone and I went back to that thread of the conversation that we were having, and I'm like, you know what, I want to kind of brighten her day a little bit. So on the way home from the gym, I just said, I'm going to stop at the Publix and go to the flower section and just buy her, a nice little bouquet of flowers. And that's what I did. And I literally went and knocked at her door and surprised her, because I went to her house unannounced, and she opened the door and she was like, babe, what are you doing here? I was like, I just felt like you needed some cheering up, and felt like giving you these flowers. And bro, her face literally lit up, and it was like smile from ear to ear. And I was sweaty from the gym, and I just felt icky. And yes, guys, I use the word icky. And I just felt nasty, bro. Like, I just felt gross. But I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna give the flowers to show her my love and appreciation that I have for her, and whatever day that she might have had, we could talk about it later, but I just wanted to give this as a gesture of my love and appreciation for you, just to cheer you up, because it sounded like you had a pretty rough day. Bro, literally after I left and I got home, I must have been home 5 minutes, and she's already texting me saying, babe, you don't understand I don't know what verbatim what she said on the text, but it was something along the lines that, babe, you're amazing. You've been nothing but amazing to me. I appreciate you. You always go above and beyond to always cheer me up, and just literally you're very thoughtful. And that kind of validated everything. And that made me feel good because, like, I know that that's what I would have wanted, some type of love gesture, if I had expressed that I was having a really rough go around in life, not just in the day, but what about if you're having a rough go around in life? Who's your go-to dude, homeboy that you can have that bro talk with? Who's that dude that's gonna go above and beyond for you and just randomly be like, yo, I got you tickets for the football game. You want to come? What? I don't have to pay anything? Nah, bro. Like, come on, let's just go. Those are your true dudes that do life in the trenches. You know what I'm saying? Even like, I remember years ago, my buddy, my coworker of mine was having a rough go around as well, and I just on the way to work, I just stopped at Dunkin' Donuts and got him a coffee. A simple gesture like that, bro. He like literally he would be texting me. He's like, yo, bro, like you didn't even have to do that, but thank you. And that actually kind of cheered me up, man. Like, I appreciate that. Like, you're a real one, And again, I don't do these things to get those compliments back. Like, oh, Javi, you a real one. Oh, yo, that's why you're my day one. Yada yada yada. You're amazing. Yada yada yada. I don't do that for that. I just do it because I know that life is hard, man. And life is full of surprises and it's full of curveballs, and sometimes life just hits you square in the face, dude, and you're trying to pick yourself up, and sometimes we go to people, and yes, we got to go to God, absolutely. I encourage you guys to go to God, but sometimes when you go to God and you don't have anywhere else to go to, it gets pretty dark and pretty lonely out there. So I think that it's just as important as how you self-care with yourself, and how you, because self-caring, what you're doing is you're cultivating and nourishing yourself, right? You ought to do that with the person that you're sharing a burger with, the person that you call your bro, your homie, or your significant other. You have to do that type of care and have that kind of intentionality that you have with yourself. You gotta also express that and reciprocate that to those that you love, because it'll also nourish and cultivate your relationship. And the only way that you can that relationship will grow stronger is if you do those things, if you nourish and cultivate, just like the farmer and the harvester. When you harvest, you nourish it, you cultivate it, and then your crop is going to thrive. And that's the only way that your relationships are going to thrive, is by doing those things. So I guess I would end it with, go out there this Christmas, be more intentional, be more self-caring with yourself. If you're not there yet, start with yourself first, and then hopefully you can overflow that when reciprocate that to those around you, because essentially once you start thriving, you're thriving with others. And you just gotta team up with the right people. Basically.
Absolutely. And guys, I will continue to say this. Please practice good oral hygiene. Some of you guys breath be stinking. I know. Floss, please floss.
Yeah, because that was you that said that in the last episode when Tyler was here. Yo, because I remember it became a thing where, especially in like church environments, when you're like sharing a mic.
Oh my gosh, you grab that mic.
And then you grab that mic and you're like, and you're just wondering inside your head, you're like, yo, who was the last person that used this? Because this is like.
They had onions.
Or they just forgot to brush their teeth, and then, I'll admit one time in high school, bro, I didn't want to miss the bus, and I woke up like on the 11th hour, bro. And I literally woke up, threw on whatever. I didn't have time to brush my teeth. I literally just like backwashed like Scope or whatever I had as a mouthwash, and I started like literally eating Tic Tacs like they were M&Ms, bro. And I was just hoping and praying to God that nobody would notice that I had stank breath, bro. It was that bad. But we'll leave you with that. Don Johnson over here, aka Christopher, encourage you guys to don't forget to floss, don't forget to brush your teeth. And that tongue.
And that tongue.
You gotta get that tongue.
The tongue is like a carpet. Imagine if you never vacuumed your carpet. How disgusting that carpet would be. Same thing. Brush that tongue.
But ladies and gentlemen, we are out. Don't forget to subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. It definitely helps the algorithm. Again, Cashapp, Kingdom Talks. And you have new music coming up in the top of the year, right? Yeah. Top of the year, you have music. If you haven't yet followed him on Don Johnson on Instagram, right?
Don Johnson PR, like,
yeah, and you'll get you guys going.